So today we have a fun video here. We are seeing 170 million power whale in Kingdom 1302 get rallied multiple times and eventually zeroed. So today in this video, we're going to be watching this footage here. So you can see here, this guy is from Song. He has over 4 billion resources of each resource and 12.2 million troops. He's using a YSS and Hera garrison. You can see his troop composition right here. So he's got 4.5 million T5 infantry, 3.3 million T5 calves, and 2.85 million T5 archers, along with a little bit of siege and then some T4. You can see one big mistake that he has here is having 361,000 T2 siege and 337,000 T1 siege, which later on in the video you will see why that is really bad when we take a look at some of the reports that got sent to us. But the siege is really going to hurt him here in the long run. Like I said, he does get fully zeroed, but the siege does not help whatsoever. So that is the original scout report. The first rally that we're going to have is going to be an XY Nevsky rally. This one is going to do some serious work here on the first rally, which is kind of surprising because this city is 170 million power. So it is a really, really high powered city. Here is the guy that is rallying it. So like I said, this is going to be an XY Nevsky, which is really good on high power cities because it has a ton of DPS. If you keep it reinforced, it's going to do really well, which is, you know, what you want to do in a situation. One thing that really surprises me throughout this entire thing is how much AoE gets taken from people that are standing to reinforce. And you'll probably see me comment on it multiple times. But this guy gets so much value from just having Hera as his garrison as a secondary, because Hera just has such a big AoE and it's circular too, so it will hit you around the entire city. And so he gets a ton of AoE kills from this, and everyone that gets hit by AoE, that is 100% dead troops. It is not going to be set wounds, so you can't heal them. Those troops are completely dead. And so in total, this player is going to lose over 110 million power. I think the total comes almost to 120 million power. And so that equates to a couple $100,000. Like, this is a serious amount of power in this game. If you guys are unfamiliar with Rise of Kingdoms, the amount of power that you have is determined based on your troop count. And your hospital, when you are being attacked in this situation, your hospital can only hold so many troops. And typically, in the later game in KVK, which is this format, your city can hold 690,000 units in its hospital, and anything that overflows that amount, anything over that 690,000 troops, dies, and you don't get those troops back. Thankfully in KVK you do get 50% back at the end of KVK, but like I said, like 100% dead troops basically throughout this rally. I mean, his hospital is already full at this point, I'm pretty sure. And he's going to be taking dead troops. And on the other hand, the people that are rallying are taking 100% dead troops. Those don't go to the hospital either. And so overall, like the entire exchange of rallies and swarms and everything like that in this video is going to be mostly dead troops, which, you know, is saying something. It's going to be a lot of dead troops. And like I said, we're going to take a look at the rally reports here as well. And these do take a little bit longer. So if you do want to fast forward, I will put timestamps in the description. So if you do want to fast forward through the rallies and just see what the reports look like, feel free to do that. I will be doing commentary throughout the rest of this video here, though. Just kind of talk about like things that could have gone better, and just, you know, ways you could optimize a little bit better here. Like you saw at the beginning, he did start at 170 million power, so he's already down 10 million power here. You can see the rally is staying like on the edge of red and yellow, so it is staying somewhat reinforced. When we look at the rally report, you can see the rally does stay about like 80% or higher full capacity, which is really, really nice. It's what you want to see. And one thing that really shocks me throughout this entire thing is that there's no double rallies throughout this entire exchange. Which at this power you would really expect to see a lot of double rallies, because, you know, 170 million power, that is a lot of power. And unfortunately I was recording this on my phone. I wish I would have just gone to my computer, but right when I got sent the coordinates, the rallies were already coming, and so I was like, okay, I just have to record my phone. And then at that point it was too late to switch to my PC. So I do have a couple notifications that pop up on here, but I do close them out fairly quickly. But this first rally is just about to come to a close. You can see he's already down 13 million power. We do have a bit of friendly fire throughout this exchange here as well. Just people that are, potentially trying to swarm the city, but accidentally hit another troop. You can see that XY was hitting the L seat up there. Here we have the first swarm. A lot of people, like I said, do this kind of stuff wrong where you were standing too close, you swarm too early, you accidentally swarm after the swarms are done. I believe that happens a couple times throughout this video where people are targeting the city and then the city dies. And for example, right here, you can see that Ramses and the Ashita hit after the troops were done hitting, or after the city died essentially. And that is going to make it so that you are basically 1v1 against the city. So you can see he is down to 152 million power. At the beginning of the video, I did show the deads, and we'll talk about that at the end there. But he did take about over 2 million deads there, I believe. He started around 44 million. Did also get about 30 million kill points, I believe. We'll take a look at the report here as well. So we'll go ahead and look at that. So here is a report from the XY. So you can see right here, the rally took 1.2 million dead troops against the city taking 1.5 million dead troops. So really, really big win for the rally. 9.7 million power for 17.1 million. So the city did take 17 million loss here, 1.5 million dead. You can see his hospital was actually almost full already. It was already half full. The way you can tell that is because the city only had 362,000 severely wounded here. And that just shows that it was already about half full before the rally even hit. Otherwise, it would say that 690,000 like I talked about earlier. You can see the kill points also. The rally got 34 million kill points versus the city getting 20 million kill points. So big win for the rally here. And then one really interesting thing here as well, if you look at the troop buffs, you can see it as XY Nevsky and then YSS Hera. You can see that the XY actually has an auxiliary skill as well. So it has the troops led by this commander gain 10% increased counterattack damage and take 15% less damage, which is really, really nice in this situation. One also really interesting thing to look at here is just the overall stats. And I'll give you guys a second here to look at the garrison stats and tell me what you guys are seeing. And now I'll tell you the answer. They don't have any gear on the garrison. There's 0 gear on this garrison whatsoever. You can see all the stats are really, really low, especially for a city this high power. And if you look at the base health stats, there's no iconics on this garrison, meaning he literally has 0 gear on this garrison. You can see the all damage 6%, normal attack damage 0, skill damage 30% from the commanders. But like I said, 0 gear on this garrison commander, which is just a huge mistake, especially because you're sitting in a war zone and most likely just log off, fall asleep or something, like a long day of fighting and you go to bed. I don't know. But the flags got burnt. He was off territory and he thought maybe 170 million power he was safe. And in Season of Conquest, you are not safe. So we're going to move on to the next rally here. We're going to have a Gilgamesh rally. So now you can see right here, we have 846 that is rallying again. This was going to be a Gilgamesh rally. And this one, unfortunately, I did not get the report for. But he does do quite a bit of work here. The city, like you saw in the first scout report, still had a ton of cavalry in it, and also still had a lot of infantry. This is mostly infantry in the city, so that's why archers was good to throw in at least once to handle some of the infantry, because doing calves is going to kill a lot of the archers and a lot of the cavalry, but the infantry is going to stay a little bit longer. So throwing in the Gilga Henry I think is really good in this situation. I think using Gilga was probably the wrong move. I think a Boudica Henry would have been better in this situation, mainly because, it's not a Xeno garrison and Gilga is, the direct counter to Zenobia. And so I think using a Boudica Henry would have been a better choice in this situation rather than using the Gilgamesh Henry, especially because the reinforcements are just not here either. I feel like most people bring cavalry for city garrisons, or for city rallies, I should say. And if you saw there, you could see that guy from 846 that was standing in the AoE multiple times and probably took over 100,000 dead troops there. And just people being out of position here as well. You can see that Boudica just took 52,000 dead T5 just for walking through the AoE. which just, you know, hurts to see. You can see that Nebu get hit. You can see those guys get hit. Like, it's painful to watch, to see people that don't know how to reinforce correctly. I mean, there's even a stone node you can see right there, right below the Gilgamesh, that you could go into that node and reinforce from there, and you're basically guaranteed not to get hit by the AoE. And so that's something that you could definitely take advantage of, you know, and not take those needless dead troops. You know, it's kind of like nails on a chalkboard, seeing people reinforce incorrectly. And it also hurts the rally too, because you're not putting full marches in the rally anymore if you're getting hit by the AoE, which definitely goes a long way. So you really want to make sure that you are reinforcing correctly in situations like this, and not, you know, taking needless dead troops throughout the entire exchange here. But like I said, like you can see here, down to 147 million power. The Gilgamesh is not doing too well here. You can see the health is getting really low. Reinforcements are just not very good in this situation. Like I said before, I think a lot of people just bring cavalry for those city rallies and not really archers. And so I think they weren't really prepared to reinforce this this rally. And so I believe this one does cancel eventually. You can see, yep, right there, the rally gets canceled. So we're going to move on to the next rally here. So now we have a Nevsky Joan, which I really like. This is a really great rally for this as well. Although I do believe that the XY Nevsky is still the best cavalry pair that you could use on the city. You know, XY is just so good at rallying cities. Just the damage that he outputs, I think, is better than Joan in this situation. The XY Nevsky, you know, was one of the meta city rally pairs that you could use. I mean, obviously besides like Attila Takeda or anything like that. However, like I said, like this garrison has no gear on it, so you could really throw anything at this garrison and it will probably do pretty well. Mainly because, like I said, it has no gear on it, and so that does go a long way in how this garrison trades. And being 170 million power, you definitely would have expected him to trade better than he did at the end of the day. But like I said before, like having no gear, maybe having armaments on there, but you know, you never know. I reached out to this guy, but we'll see if he responds. If he does before I post this video, I will throw that on there, but I'm not sure if he's going to. He might be, you know, really upset that he got zeroed overnight. You know, at the very beginning of KVK2, which really sucks in this situation for him. You know, really good for for his enemies, but for 1302, this does really hurt. And these are the allies of 1254 as well. And so, you know, 846 is doing a really great job here of, you know, zeroing someone who could potentially have been a really good asset for the kingdom. You know, if he is a garrison captain, like he has Hera expertise, he has YSS, he could still be a garrison captain and just not have a ton of troops. Or same with rallying as well. He just won't really be able to open field unless he trains a ton of troops, which, you know, he could do. And being 170 million power, you would expect that he might be able to, you know, mass train again and be able to open field fight. But, you know, after he heals his hospital, he's only going to have at 690,000, not even full T5 either, because he did take T2, T3, and T1 in his hospital. So that's what I was saying before at the beginning of the video, where having those siege is really going to hurt him because of the fact that it's going to fill up his hospital, which, you know, really sucks for him, because he's not going to have as much T5 as he could have had if he either just didn't have that T2, T3, and T1, or if he would have been online and launched a rally, or just gotten them out of his city. Killed them off in a different way, deleted them, just in some way getting rid of them goes a long way. So now we can take a look at the report here. So we can see 5.8 million to 13.9 million, 856,000 dead. So you can see a lot of T4 in there as well from the power differential of the deads. And then 1.5 million dead for the city. So mostly T5, but, you know, a little bit of T4, a little bit of T3, a little bit of T2 and T1. Kill points, 27 million for the rally, which is great. And 12.5 million for the city, which is not great whatsoever. For 1.5 million dead, that is pretty abysmal. All right, we have our next rally here. This one is also going to be a Nevsky rally. I believe this is also a Nevsky Joan. And this one is going to trade pretty well. You can see just the skill damage is insane. 200,000 skill damage on the city. City not really being able to do a ton of damage to the rally. And as we go here, the rallies are going to do better and better and better. You know, obviously as the city gets weaker, the rallies are going to do even better, which is hard to believe because, you know, it's still a strong city. We did get cut out there a little bit just because my game lagged out. But we are back here, 126 million power. You know, the rally is still trading really well. You know, even just staying slightly below that 50% health is insane for the rally, because, you know, this is still a lot of power in the city. Even though it doesn't have gear, it is still a lot of power that you're rallying into. And so you really want to make sure you are still using like your top rally pairs, your top rally players, which is one thing we see later on, is that we have a couple players that I don't think should have been rallying, but they still did launch that rally. I don't think traded as well. Unfortunately, we did not get those reports because they were not from 846. Those were the guys that were sending me the reports. And so those rallies did not do as well. It was from JST, I believe, that did the rallying later on, which I don't think those players should have been rallying. But we'll be getting to that eventually here. You can see the swarm down to 121 million power. So down to 120 now. He's down over 50 million power so far, which is just crazy. And now we can see here we also have an XY coming. So another XY Nevsky, which, like I said before, I think is a really great garrison for this, a really good rally for this garrison. You know, for the not for the XY, for the YSS and for the Hera, I think XY is really the way to go. You know, just having the high damage output and the debuffs from XY is really, really great. You can see some more guys standing in the AoE on the top there. But now, as you see, the city is dying faster and faster as we go. Because now, instead of having 170 million power, he's down to 120. But obviously that is still a ton of power. I mean, I have 80 million power, like 78 million power right now. And so this is still like 1.5 times my power, which is just crazy to even fathom having that much power, you know, being not a whale. And so, and one thing to take into account here too, is that he does have the general title. So he does have that going for him. He does have that extra stats. But, you know, he is off territory. He doesn't have any garrison gear on his garrison, which is, you know, gonna hurt him so much here. At the end of all the rallies, he barely gained any kill points for how many deads he took. And, you know, the great thing about KVK now is that in KVK 4 Season of Conquest, you do get 50% of your dead troops back. So every single dead troop that he's getting here, he is getting 50% back. So at the end, when he does lose, go from 170 million power down to about 57 million, he does get half that power back. So if he lost about like 90 million power, he's going to get 45 million back. And so at the end of the day, like, this isn't the end of the world. It used to be where, like, if you got zeroed, like, you were done for. You had to either quit or completely retrain, because, you know, you didn't get any troops back. And I think that's one great thing that Lilith did change, is that they allowed you to get those troops back. They started out small, and even in the early game, like, they still weren't giving you troops back, whereas now they give you like 30% back, I believe, and allow you to buy more troops back, which I still think is kind of dumb. You know, just spending money to get like another 5,000 of your troops back, which doesn't make any sense to me. But thankfully for him, he will get troops back here at the end of the KVK. But Zone 4 literally just opened, or Zone 5 fight literally just started today, for this KVK, which is, you know, just it's rough for him because he won't be able to fight very much for the next couple of zones, which is really going to suck for him. And here is that rally report. So we have XY Nevsky, 3.3 million power to 9.2. So you can see the rallies are getting better and better. 417,000 dead to almost 1 million dead. Kill points, almost 3 times more kill points for the rally than for the garrison. So now he is down to 111 million power. We have Faceless Zen here rallying once again, or Faceless Zan. He, like I said, 111 million power now. This is a Nevsky with Joan Prime, which is still a really great rally. You know, obviously as he gets lower and lower, you really have to kind of change the kind of pairs that you're looking at. So for those like mega power cities, that's why XY is so great for that. But as you get lower, using Nevsky Joan is definitely still a very solid option. You know, eventually you are going to have to switch into Attila Takeda or Nevsky Attila, which we'll see here later as well. And, you know, figuring out when you want to start using that, typically under like 90 or 80 million power, that's when you want to start putting in Attila. You know, Attila Takeda under 90 million power is just a complete powerhouse. He just wipes the floor with the garrison. And I believe those are the best rally reports here at the end of the video here too, the ones with Attila. And the reason why is just that counterattack damage and just the amount of damage that he does. Even though he has literally 0 skill damage, he is just such an amazing commander for city rallies for that exact reason. The amount of counterattack damage he does is just off the charts. And so I think one great thing that I also saw here is that they did not use a ton of infantry rallies. I've seen some kingdoms that literally only rally with infantry, even for city rallies, which to me doesn't really make a ton of sense. Although I think using Tariq and Sargon would have been really interesting to see here as well. Obviously, you would not want to use Pakal in this situation because you don't really care about that extra counterattack damage from Pakal, or using like a Pakal Herald. But I think it would have been really cool to have seen a couple of Tariq rallies, because I think that would have been very successful in this kind of rally. So here we have that rally, so we can see the Nevsky Joan, 2.2 million power to 7.8, 310,000 dead to 838,000, 15.5 million kill points to 4.6 million kill points. So the kill point gap is getting bigger and bigger as we go on. So now we can see 103.5 million power. We now have another XY rally coming. So this is going to be an XY Nevsky. This one is going to do really, really well. Obviously, as we keep going, we're going to get closer and closer to that 0. And then eventually we will be getting a complete swarm to 0 him completely at the very end. That was really fun to watch, just seeing all the horrible marches that are trying to swarm this thing down. Like seeing the Siandak, the Cleopatras, the Joan of Arc Unprime, or like the Constants, the people that are just trying to get resources. Because like we talked about earlier, he did have over 4 billion resources of each resource, including gold, which is huge. And I'm sure, this took place like almost an hour ago. Now I'm just recording it or doing the voiceover, but I'm sure people are still trying to loot him and, get all of his resources out if he hasn't logged on yet. I'm sure he's going to be really, really upset when he does log on, because, whales of this power, they typically buy their resources, from resource sellers. And so, he most likely loaded up on that 4 billion of each resource for KVK, getting ready to fight. Was fighting in the Zone 5 fight. You can see Yoda 808, Justin, scouted the city there. I thought that was kind of funny when I was recording, seeing him make a little cameo. And so I made sure to zoom on that. You can see now he dropped under 100 million power at 99.9 million power. And this rally is just going to do just a ton of work on the city. At this point, you could definitely get a swarm going, but you don't really have a ton of people around the city. You can see a couple people moving in now, just under 99 million power. That's one thing I think they could have done better, is just being more prepared for the swarms, because at this point it's a little bit too late to do that swarm, because he's basically almost dead. And you really only have marches that, have a ton of T1 siege in them, so it's not really going to do a whole lot. We do have another rally coming from LIT here. And so this guy's also from 846. I don't believe we got this rally. This one I wasn't really sure what was going on. I don't really know why he was using Nevsky Attila. I thought that was an interesting way to pair it. Typically you want to use Attila Nevsky, but in this situation it's not really needed. And I didn't get the report from this one, but I don't think it did as well, because this guy, like you saw on his profile, he's a little bit lower in kill points, which typically that's a good indicator if someone is an actual rallier or a garrison, is if they have higher kill points. Obviously, there are some rally captains or garrison captains that are lower in kill points, and they just aren't able to play as often. So I could be wrong about this. But typically that's what I look for when it comes to oh, this guy's probably a rally leader, is if he has this guy does 16 billion kill points. That's a good indicator that he's rallying, he's garrisoning, he's always open field fighting, super active. So when you see those lower kill points, it's typically an indicator oh, this guy might not be someone that should be rallying. But obviously I could be wrong about that. You can see the normal attack damage is not amazing for using an Attila. And that's really why you want to make sure you are using him primary in this situation, because using him secondary I don't think is as good. And for this kind of city power, you don't really want to be using Attila yet, especially using a Nevsky Attila. You'd rather use Attila Takeda or use, Nevsky Joan, XY Nevsky. I think those are much better options for this at this point. Eventually, like I said, you do want to start using Attila, but at this point, just under 100 million power, you don't really want to start using him just yet. Now at 92 million power, you do see people moving in for the swarm here as well. One nice thing though is that you are kind of taking away the AoE from the people on the far left, because the people on the far right were getting hit by a ton of AoE earlier. And then like I was saying before, I think one thing that was just pretty noticeable is how pretty much all the swarmers every single time are just gathering commanders that are just trying to get resources. So now he's under 90 million power. So we're going to take a look at some reports. So this was the XY Nevsky. So you can see 2.1 million power to 7.1 million power, 291,000 dead to 753,000 dead. Pretty much all T5 from both. 14.1 million kill points for the rally and 4.5 million for the garrison. And so now we have the Attila Takeda coming. So this is from Faceless Zan once again, who has been rallying a lot here. This one does a lot of work. You can see by the normal attack damage, 10k to 30k. It's just completely destroying this garrison. And this rally does very, very well. This is just a complete full Attila Takeda, the OG city rallying commanders. And that's really what they're best for. Attila has a little bit more usability when paired with Nevsky in the open field. I did do a little bit of testing on that on previous videos. But in this situation, just keeping the Attila full just goes an insane long way in this situation, because keeping the rally full, obviously with every rally is going to be really, really good. But when you're using a commander like Attila, you really want to make sure you have as many troops in the rally as possible, mainly because you are really just focusing on getting that normal attack damage and the counterattack. So the more troops you have, obviously the more you're going to get from that counterattack and normal attack damage, which is just then multiplied by Attila's skills, and then also by Takeda as well. And so this rally does very, very well. You can see the normal attack damage is just getting better and better for the rally. But we'll take a look at this report here when it's done, which, like I said, I believe this is the best rally report out of all of them. He does take him down quite a bit of power, and just the differential of power lost from the rally and from the garrison, I think, is the best out of all these rallies. And I do believe we do get a swarm here eventually as well. You can see now like the city is getting very, very low, down to 82 million power, almost to the point where you could literally just swarm this guy down. I feel like they would if this was an imprison situation. I feel like they already started swarming. But since this guy has shown that he's not online, otherwise he would have bubbled a long time ago. He wouldn't have let himself lose 100 million power like this. And so I think that's why they didn't really get swarm happy. You can see like obviously some mistakes like that, that gathering march up there just accidentally hit, but down to 78.4 million power now. We can take a look at the report. So we can see 3.5 million to 10.6, 4.7 million dead to 1.14 million dead, 21 million kill points to 7.3 million kill points. So pretty much all T5 from that rally, and then pretty much mostly T4 from the rally here. And like I said, almost all T5 from that garrison. Now we have another Attila rally here, and this one is going to have the hollow square formation, which is reducing the amount of damage he's taking by 2%, which is really solid here for Attila. And you can see this guy is also lower in kill points, 1.8 billion kill points. You can see the normal attack damage is not nearly as good as that last Attila rally. This one is an Attila Nevsky, so it's a little bit different. But still, you would expect the normal attack damage to be a lot higher in this situation, considering the city is substantially lower power than the previous Attila Takeda rally, which, there's just more evidence that this guy maybe shouldn't have been rallying the city, because, you have some very, very solid rally leaders that have been rallying this entire time, that have been coming from the right side. And so this guy's also from 846. I did not get the report from this one either. Basically every rally that came from the left I did not get, but the ones that came from the right I did get, just from the people that were reinforcing from that alliance and from the coalition. And so I think this is one situation, like I said before, like they should have been double rallying this guy, because they could have had like one Attila Takeda that was tanking or using the Pakal Herald tanking, or Tariq Pakal to tank, and then have a high DPS like XY Nevsky, or even putting some archers in there too to you know, just take down the city even faster. I think that would have been better. Because I think that would have also reduced the amount of deaths that they would have taken. You can see the city is now under 75 million power, is now actually under my power, which is kind of funny. That he is actually has dropped that low. You can see a Call Herald accidentally hit the city there. We do have a couple more rallies here to come. So you can see right here, this is another hollow square rally. This one is going to be in Attila Takeda. And for some reason, it walks to the other side of the city, which doesn't make any sense because it came from the right. But this actually does kind of screw them over because people that are trying to reinforce from the right side have to walk through the AoE. And you can see how many are doing that. And they are going to take a lot of AoE deads here just from having to walk around to the city to try to reinforce that rally. Which, you know, is just unfortunate because they were in the right position. It should have hit on the right side, but for some reason it didn't. So you do take a lot of needless deads here from that, you know, just that error or that glitch. And you can see a couple people are still getting hit by the AoE, but most of the people kind of figured it out. But like I said, another Attila Takeda, you can see the normal attack damage substantially higher, down to 72 million power. And now the swarm is going to move in. And I believe this is the last rally until they just start to continue to swarm this thing down to complete zero. Which is, you know, just very rewarding to watch someone at this high power as it gets completely zeroed, because it does not happen every day, especially on day one of a big war like this. So he's down to 68 million power, and you can see just more people coming in to swarm, and then eventually people are like, okay, we're just going to swarm this guy down. They do have another rally that does come to hit eventually the end, but he is pretty much just zeroed by that point. And like I was saying before, it is kind of funny seeing how many of these marches are marches that you should not be swarming with. Like for example, like Cleo, you have Scipio that is not prime, another Cleo, just a lot of gathering marches that, you know, have a ton of siege. I do believe I take off the simplified graphics so you can see how much siege is actually hitting this thing right here. So you can see all the sieges walking around the city trying to take some resources. Trying to kill off some siege because, you know, siege is completely useless. So you can see how much siege is around the city, just trying to loot this resources because, like I said, over 4 billion of each resource in the city. So 12 billion resources total in this city, which is just crazy. So I'm assuming he's going to get completely looted, which is really, really nice for 846 because they are going to get a ton of resources here from 302, from Song, from this guy here. But this does really hurt 302 because, like I said before, this was one of their, you know, biggest whales, 170 million power. You know, obviously they do have a ton of whales in 302 and in 1254, so they're not short on whales by any means. Personally, I do still believe that 1254 and 302 has the edge in this KVK. I do believe that they're going to win KVK. I've been, you know, vocal on that on both Facebook and YouTube. So that's where I'm throwing my hat in the ring is taking sides with 1254 and company. I do believe that they are going to win this KVK after, you know, however many months of not getting the match and then getting like match not found and just not getting in the right KVK. So I think it's well overdue that they've gotten a good KVK. I think 846 is going to be a great fight for them. And so I am excited to watch the rest of this KVK and potentially do some more live streaming with it. You know, obviously Chisco will be live streaming it a ton as well, and I know other people have been live streaming it too. And I believe Lambo was actually live streaming during this as well, so I think his was actually he was live during this rally, so I'm assuming he covered it on his channel. But I wanted to record it just in case nobody else was. That way, you know, you guys can see it as it was happening. And you know, I wish like I said, I would have been on my computer during this, so I could have done the voiceover while it was going. But you know, it's cool to look back on it now and just kind of analyze everything that was going on and just you know, give my like live like play-by-play feedback on it and just the commentary. And so if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like and subscribe. You know, I'll let the rest of this play out just with some music here at the end. And make sure you guys, if you are interested in more videos like this, let me know down below in the comments. Throw a like on here. It really helps me figure out what kind of content you guys like to see from Rise of Kingdoms. So I'll let this play out the rest of the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.